Thank you for that. Hello, folks. Welcome. My name is Vipin Tek. I work with Ashoka. Welcome to the session. I just want to say a few things just to make sure we are all on the same page on what's going to unfold over the next 1 hour. One is, if you are anything like me, I love the idea of multitasking while I am on a Zoom call. I would invite you to consider not to do that in this session, because we are going to do a piece of work which is deeply personal, and it would invite you to be in your full presence in this space. And second is, we are going to do some exercises in small groups. So, and those conversations are not going to get recorded. Those are individual personal conversations, but those conversations would require you to show up, not just for yourself to get benefit from the conversation, but also for the other person who's going to be with you in that Zoom conversation. So there's an invitation to be present. And the second piece, which I can tell you about the session, is I'm a big fan about eating the mango and not talking about eating the mango, by which I mean we're not talking about inner work, we're going to do and experience inner work. So that would again require you to be present and bring your whole self into the conversation. So just a point of reference so you can be fully present to this conversation. Anyway, so what I would love to do is to start the session sharing with you this photograph. And what I want to invite you to do is to take a look at this photo and let yourself breathe in this photo for yourself. Like, let yourself be impacted by it. And notice what comes up for you, what thoughts, what emotions, what sensations comes up. And I want to invite you to open your chat and then just write into the chat what comes up as you see that this photo of these two elephants hanging out with each other. And as you chat, as you've written your response, and just pay attention to what other people's responses are. And notice how you are being impacted as those words appear on your screen. What gets activated inside you? What emotions, what sensations, what memories comes out? And what we're going to explore in this session is the territory of the inner world, right? The part of us which is not just our thinking mind, but the feeling heart. And being able to say, how do we bring in more of our capacity of our heart to love, to behold the compassion, to understanding, to the social change work which we are all passionate of doing in the world. So very quickly, my name is Vipin. I work with, let's see, I can't get my slides to move. There we go. Okay, so my name is Vipin. I'm a senior director at Ashoka. I work with the Youth Years team. I am a social entrepreneur in the sense I love to create work in the world, and especially love to create work in the world which no one else is doing. So I've built this work around this idea of parenting change makers. How can parents support their children to be change makers? I'm building this work out in the world now called Changemaker communities, where we go into entire cities and we bring together some of the most influential institutions in a region, school districts, faith institutions, companies, the local mayor's office, all around this idea of how do you support the next generation of change makers in my community. And a couple of years ago, I got a chance to meet my big hero in life, who's Optimus Prime. He's the leader of Transformers. I really think that poor fellow doesn't get enough credit for saving the galaxy multiple times. That's one social issue which I would like to solve when I get rid of all the other things which I'm working on. And I'm even actually wearing my Optimus Prime t-shirt, which is usually only comes out for special occasions. So I just want you to know how special you are and how special this conversation is for me. Anyway, so that's me. And very quickly about Ashoka, Ashoka, we're building the world where everyone is a change maker. So for us, we really believe, even though there is a lot of chaos and anxiety and stress and frustration happening in the world today, but we are living in a world where the possibility for any person to engage and create change is exponentially higher. And for us, we call this the Changemaker era. Now, here's the catch. The first catch is this. What got us here as a species is not going to get us to where we need to go, right? Think about this. My simplest way to explain this is, let's look at the issue of bullying. Today, if you go to google.com, there is no shortage of the number of curriculums that you can download free of cost to solve the problem of bullying. Now, the question is, are we any close to solving the problem of bullying in schools? So sometimes the inspired by what Einstein said, that problems cannot be solved from the same level of consciousness it has been created from. Problems cannot be solved from the same level of mindsets it has been created from. So the first for us, all of us who are passionate about social change and higher education, is to realize that what got us here is not going to get us to this new world, which is already emerging in front of us. Now, the second piece which I want to share is this. There is a deep paradox inherent in the idea of change. And that paradox is this. Sorry, my screen is getting stuck. So I'm just going to give it a second. All right, so I'm going to give you a second to look at this cartoon and let you yourself be impacted by it. Right, I see some nodding, smiling faces, which basically means that you relate to this, right? Every one of us wants to change, but how many of us are willing to change ourselves, our beliefs, our perspectives, our judgments, our value systems towards the larger collective, right? So this is the piece which we are beginning to realize is missing in the larger narrative of social change, the individual transformation, the inner work which is needed to create social change in the world. So the easiest way to describe it is that when I talk to you about the Changemaker communities work, what we realized was change needs to happen at 3 different levels. One is the individual transformation, right? The changing the mindsets of the people who are part of the system. Now, I'm sure pretty much a lot of us have done it some form of inner work or exploration, which is why I'm guessing you are interested in this topic in the first place. We've all gone into, maybe some of us have gone into a yoga retreat in Costa Rica for a month, or we've gone to Esalen, or we have gone to personality development change workshops. However, the problem, the limitation of that approach is the fact that, I'm sure you can relate to it. We have all gone to these weekend workshops where we jump off a cliff or we walk on coal and our life is changed. And Monday morning, we open Microsoft Outlook and everything goes back to normal, right? So the challenge has been the fact that the inner transformation or the mindset shift, the individual has changed, but the institution hasn't changed, right? But however, at the same time, there are a lot of people who are like McKinsey's and the organizational consultants who are changing the institutions, but there is not a lot of emphasis on changing the individual. And very, very few people are really thinking about the ecosystem around the university, right? How do we work together with the school districts, with the community colleges, with the local mayor's office, with the local church, all around the idea of coming together to create and catalyze change. So our core insight around this model of a change maker community is the realization that change needs to happen. But if you want to create transformational change, change needs to happen at all these 3 levels at the same time. So our most advanced prototype of this work is happening at North Central Massachusetts in 2 hours outside of Boston, where we bring together the Fitchburg school districts, the university, the school districts in the region, the local mayor's office, all around this idea that it takes an ecosystem to raise a change maker. So I'm sharing this part of this piece with you so that you understand the context from which the next set of what we're going to do together is emerging from. So it's not, it's coming from practical work experience on the ground. So let's focus on the inner work for the next 45 minutes of this conversation, right? When people realize, the people who are passionate about creating systems change, when you realize that you are part of the system you're trying to change, that in some way you are also contributing to the problem you're trying to solve, then the mindset with which you approach the solutions becomes transformational. Now, a simpler way to say it is comes from the world of Theory U and MIT, where Bill O'Brien said, the success of an intervention depends on the interior condition of the intervener. Now, let's just take a pause there and let's really soak that in for a second. The success of an intervention depends on the interior condition of the intervener. So, which basically saying, if I'm trying to go and create trusting collaborations in my community, but I'm myself, the person who's the intervener, who's the facilitator, in my own interior world, I find it hard to let go of control. I find it hard to trust people. That interior condition impacts the quality of work which you're doing in the system. So what that does is it makes us to really pause and really reflect on what is the state of my own consciousness as I do this in the work. Am I coming at it from a place of scarcity? Am I coming at it from a place of lack of trust? Am I coming at it from a place of control? And the more you can bring awareness into that dimension of your own being and change it, the more you are able to have a radically different and deeper catalytic impact on the system you're trying to change. So what we would love to do is to get you into, we're going to do an exercise right now and really make this content personal for the person sitting in your chair or standing in your shoes. So in Ashoka, we talk about the 4 change-making skills: cognitive empathy, collaborative teamwork, new leadership, change-making, right? So those are the 4 skills which we talk about, the skills every child and every young person or adult needs to master to engage in a world where change has become the only constant. But just for the purpose of this exercise, I just created this framework just for the purpose of this exercise. You won't find it on google.com, so just hold the framework lightly, but we wanted just to provoke a conversation. If you look at the changemaker skills as the head skills, then as human beings, we are not just cerebral people. We are also have 3 different other intelligences we have access to. We have the intelligence of the mind, which we are really good at, most of us. We've got the intelligence of the heart. We have the intelligence of the body, and there is the intelligence of spirit, right? So there's 4 different intelligences. But most of us, we spend so much time in our thinking mind that it feels like we go into battle just with my left arm when I can have my right hand, right leg, and left leg to engage with. You're only using one dimension of your intelligence. So for the purpose of this conversation, we are only using the heart just to have a conversation among us. So what is the equivalent of heart skill for cognitive empathy is compassion, right? Our capacity to relate, understand, feel, sense into the pain, suffering, or experience of another human being. Now, to be really good at collaborative teamwork, you need, what is the equivalent heart skill is the capacity to trust and let go, right? So how many of us have issues with letting go? You don't have to raise your hands because I can't see all your faces, but just think about it. How many of us have been spending a lot of time with therapy trying to really kind of ease into this capacity of letting go of control or leaning into the muscle of trust? So if you truly want to work in teams, especially in today's online world where you are challenged to work with people who have different mindsets, different cultural, religious, social orientations from around the world, to be truly transformational team player, you need to have the capacity to trust. That's the heart skill. Now, what's the heart skill of new leadership? And by new leadership, we mean it's not the old form of leadership where there is someone, the CEO, sitting in positions of power and telling everyone what you need to do. New leadership for us is a place where every person gets an opportunity to lead. So think about Occupy Wall Street, the Me Too movement, the umbrella revolution led by high school students in Hong Kong, right? Where is the one big Martin Luther Kings and Mahatma Gandhis of the world anymore? So the next wave of leadership, which is already here, is small groups of people coming together to getting things done and then dissolving. So it's a fluid nature of new leadership. So the hard skill of new leadership, the courage, the muscle which you need to practice is that of courage. right? To step in, to lead when either no one else is doing something about it, and in that position, giving others the self-permission to step into their own power as a change maker. And the last skill for change make is change making. And by that, what we mean at Ashoka is that it's not just enough to have cognitive empathy, collaborative teamwork, or new leadership, but it's putting all these skills and then doing something about it for the good of all, to create change in the world for the good of all. Now, the hard skill of change making is the skill of self-permission, the capacity to sense an idea and then give yourself the self-permission to take action instead of waiting for the dean or your friends or the nonprofit people to step in, do something. Like you are doing something, and in that you taking action, you're helping other people to step into their own power. So what I would love for us to do, just as an exploration, hold this very lightly, is I'm just going to give you guys a few minutes. And in those few minutes, I just want you to take a look, just do a reflection for yourself. In your own life, where are you with in this journey? Like compassion, how are you with compassion in this way? So think about it as, let's focus on the hard skills for a moment. Which of these 4 hard skills are you really, really good at? It comes naturally to you. And which one of these hard skills, oh, you know what? I could pay a bit more attention to it, right? So do some self-reflection. You're welcome to journal or type, whatever that helps you to, whatever is your learning style, draw, scribble. So the question is, which one of these skills are you naturally good at? You can do it in your sleep. That's who you are as a human being. And the second question is, which one of it is that, you know what? I could pay a bit more attention to trust. I could pay a bit more attention to courage. So I'm going to just give you a few minutes to reflect. Okay. So what we're going to invite you to do is we're going to split, Carly is going to just split us into groups of 2. And our invitation for you is to consider, if you can in your small group, switch on your camera, because it's always nice to talk to another human being face to face, if that is possible. Otherwise, you can just speak, that's fine. Second, the perspective which we want you to share is, what was it like to do the self-reflection exercise, right? Like, what is something which you're really good at? And what is something, I want you to pay attention to. And I want to say the whole idea of change making is not just to create change in the world, but it is also doing the hard work of learning to look at ourselves and saying, what change do I need to create within myself? And can I give myself the self-permission to look within? So what that does is it gives you the incredible power of authenticity, so that when you go and support other people to be change makers, whether it is young people or adults, that they are sensing into your authenticity. You're not asking them to do something which you haven't done for yourself. So for the purpose of the small group discussions, I want to set some ground rules. And the ground rules are threefold. One is, anything which is said of a personal nature between the 2 of you in your pairs stays within themselves, right? So you are welcome to share your experience. So for example, let's say if me and Holly are going to partner, I'm happy, it's okay to share for my experience of something which Holly shared, but not the content of Holly shared. So if that's okay with you, thumbs up. Confidentiality. Excellent. Second, I checked the Washington Post today. It's still a democratic, free country, right? And by that, what I mean is that just because I'm asking you to do something, you don't have to do it, which means it's okay to say pass. So the second ground rule is honor your boundaries. You, the person sitting in front of your computer screen, knows what your boundaries are. And we want to invite you to use exercise the superpower which you have to say, I'm willing to share this, but I'm not willing to share that because I just don't feel ready for it. So if that's okay with you, thumbs up. Honor your boundaries. Excellent. Lovely people. Now, here's the last one. Now, this is a slightly tricky one. So having said honor your boundaries, the third ground rule is to play full out. And by that, what we mean is we are inviting you to a conversation which you usually don't run into. It's an invitation for an exploration. It's an invitation to be to explore and practice the muscle of intimacy. So if you break down the word intimacy, you get into me, you see. So every act of you sharing something which is true for you is an invitation for another human being to see you as who you are, not just your visiting cards and all the fancy titles which you have, which are all beautiful, and the person behind the visiting card, right? So the third ground rule is playing full out is what I mean. What we mean by that is give yourself the permission to be vulnerable so you can have an experience which is usually different from the normal conversations which you have on Zoom. So play full out, thumbs up. Excellent. Thank you for indulging me in the ground rules. So that's the ground rules. So what we're going to do is Carly is going to send you into pairs of a pair, so groups of two, yeah. Sorry, maths has never been my strength. And in that conversation, each person is going to get 8 minutes. And in that 8 minutes, so for example, me and Caitlin is a partner. Caitlin is going to share for her among the 4 hard skills: compassion, courage, forgot my own skills. Wait, compassion, courage, trust, letting go, and also self-permission. Which one of the 4 is comes easily to Caitlin, and which one of them is slightly hard? I need to pay a bit more attention around courage, for example. And then Carly is going to send out a message, broadcast a message, and which will say, invite you to switch. So in partner 2, in this case, me, I'll get 8 minutes to share my reflections. And at the end of the day, at the end of the conversation, you can have a chat about how this conversation was for you, and then come back into the main room. Sounds good? All right, 8 minutes each per person. If you have any questions, you can send it to me on chat, but otherwise last thing, compassion, not just to the world, but compassion to yourself, right? A lot of us, raise your hands if you have experienced burnout. Look at that. That's like 80% of the screen. There's that line, you might win the rat race, but at the end of the day, you're still a rat, right? In this pursuit of trying to create the world a better place, if we are exhausting ourselves, is that really making the world a better place? So that compassion to self as much as compassion to the world. Sometimes we are so good at compassion to the world that we forget the human being sitting in our chairs, which is equally important. So Carly, if you could do your magic and send everyone into pairs, that would be phenomenal. Have a lovely conversation. See you on the other side. Well. Welcome back. Right. So I just recently discovered that if you have updated your Zoom, they have started this new feature at the bottom of the screen where you can see chat, whatever, leave meeting. Right next to it, there is a button called reactions. And apparently Zoom has just discovered reaction, and they are very stingy with their emoticons. So you only have 2 options, right? So I'm giving them a feedback. There are more emoticons than just 2, but if you really enjoyed that conversation, I want you to do a thumbs up on your screen. Let's see how the conversation was for a lot of people. All right, that's quite a few thumbs ups. Great. Anita is like, I'm just going to thumbs up my own. I don't care if Toom thumbs up. That's fine. This is a change maker right there. Beautiful. So welcome back. What I would love for us to do in the last few minutes of our time together is just use the chat feature, because we unfortunately don't have a lot of time to hear from a lot of people, but I still would love to make it as participatory as I can. Type in the chat and share with all of us, was there an aha moment, an insight, a new perspective or a new possibility you saw you're seeing now for yourself from the conversation you just had with a partner? It could be about the topic itself, the 4 skills of the heart or the 4 skills of the mind, or a personal insight, something which was like, oh, that is a juicy thing to know about myself, or something I need to pay attention to. So let's put it in your chat and let's see what you guys explored. I hope you did the exercise I did and not complain about the last season of Game of Thrones. So I just want to check. This is my way of checking. Compassion, yeah. This is going to give 30 or so seconds for those who are willing to share. And if while people are typing, if someone is moved or inspired to just share through voice, just unmute yourself and just tell us what was that like for you to do an exercise with another human being, finding a connection to your common humanity, or talking about things which you normally don't give yourself a lot of permission and time and space to talk about. So both options are open.
Hey, Vipin.
Yes.
Yeah, so this is Vincent in Nairobi, Kenya. So for me, I think I was with Emily. So the good thing with this conversation, within a very short period of time, I was able to kind of see where my strengths are. And for each of those, skills, I could say there is a set of continuum from you more or less like in early stage or mid stage or really, really excelling. So Emily had some very, good insight there that really sparked my thinking. Like, oh, I'm not at this level for each or for just one. For each of those, I think I'm sort of like a continuum.
Yeah. Thank you, Vincent. And I also want us to reflect on this. Just think about, was it hard for you to actually say what you're good at? You know, for some of us, and especially the people who are working in this space, like we are so good at seeing the good in others, it's not necessarily always easy to see the good and the beauty and the freshness and the grace in ourselves. So that again is the dimension of compassion to play and look at and explore. That's interesting. Now, the other thought which I had, I wanted to ask you is, raise your hands if you felt something which your partner said, and you know what? Oh, I can relate to that. Like you could find your humanity in the other person's story. Just raise your hands. Isn't that fascinating? Almost random, complete strangers happened by chance to be on a Zoom call with how many people are there? 34 other human beings. And we have the sense of common humanity. And that's one of the preciousness about this human work the inner work is in a world which is getting torn apart on its stretches by things which divide us, to remind ourselves and each other that the things which we have in common is so much more than the things which separates us, because we are having a shared human experience. And that's absolutely critical to remember, to see the humanity in the people whom we are trying to serve, and also the people who we are trying to change, and to recognize and celebrate the humanity in ourselves. So thank you for engaging in this conversation. I'm going to send you guys at the bottom of your chat, I'm sending you this website. It's called changemakercommunities.org. There is a lot of resources there for parents, for educators, for administrators around building what does it look like to build a world where everyone is a change maker. Of course, you can also find a lot of resources at ashoka.org. One of the things I love doing is to end my session early, so it feels like I'm giving back almost 7-8 minutes of your precious life back to you before you do whatever you have to do next. You're welcome to hang out with me and ask any questions or you want to share. But otherwise, thank you for joining. Thank you for engaging in the conversation. And Carly has a quick poll for you before we leave. And once you're done the polling, if you want to just have a chat with me or Carly, you're welcome to hang back with us for another 7 minutes. But otherwise, do what you have to do next, and hope you keep yourself safe, healthy, and also take care of yourself for the rest of the day.